What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I am Dave Swift from ClientAmp.com, and this is another episode of That LTD Life, the series where I review the best and the worst lifetime deals on the internet with the goal of helping you save time and money so you only invest in the tools that will help grow your online business. We may not have the largest online following, but I like to think we are the most thorough and we try to be as accurate and honest as possible. So if you're enjoying this content, make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment down below for the algorithm. Let's try to blow this thing up just a little bit. Today, we are looking at Salad Transcription API. I'm not sure what the API part has to do with it. Hopefully there is a graphical user interface. I don't have to connect it up to another tool. But we're gonna find out. This is a transcription tool, if that's not clear from the name. Very important to me, I use MacWhisper. Here it is over on Gumroad. I'll link to this down below as well. You can compare it. There's a free version of MacWhisper. Now, the two caveats here with MacWhisper is you need to have a Mac, obviously, and two, you're gonna have to actually run the transcription on your local machine. So it's gonna take some of your processing power. It's gonna be a little bit slow to get access to, although if you get the Pro version, which is pretty affordable here, there is a free one as well. But if you get the Pro version, some of the newer models are really impressively fast. So we're gonna be kind of shooting out these two tools and figuring out, what is the best scenario for you. For me, I actually use MacWhisper on a daily basis, but I do have the difficulty of, I work with people who use Windows machines, and I would like for them to send me transcriptions from time to time as well. So a solution like Salad Transcription, which is, by the way, if we scroll down here to the details, using the Whisper protocol here. So it uses the Whisper Large v3 as the core model, which is available inside of MacWhisper as well. These are all OpenAI open source models. I think one of the only open source parts of OpenAI is the Whisper model. So we'll be taking advantage of that. I'm going to kind of assume here that they're saying Salad Transcription API because they're using an API to connect to OpenAPI. I don't know. We'll find out. So you can see here the plans and pricing, very generous. Kind of impressive here because it wasn't that long ago we were investing in tools like HappyScribe, and I think getting 5, 6, 7 hours of transcription for similar prices to what we are now getting 100 hours of transcription. Or if you go up to a double, $158, you get 250 hours of transcription per month. That is a ginormous amount of content. I mean, how much can you possibly record yourself inside of a single month? If you are curious, the top code, 10 codes, $790 is 2,000 transcription hours per month. Let's do some quick math here. So there are 24 hours in a day, and there are 7 days in a week, and there are 4.33 weeks per month on average. That means there's about 727, give or take, depending on the month, hours in a single month. So you could have multiple people recording 24/7 and transcribe absolutely everything that they say, if I'm reading these plans correctly, for the top purchase, $790. And that would just go on for as long as this tool exists. Kind of amazing. Now there is a limit, and that is 2 hours per audio or video file that is transcribed. So if you did want to capture every moment of someone's life, you just have to start and stop every 2 hours, so you can have your life well documented for your autobiography when people want to know what life was like in 2024 before the robots took over. All right, I am not getting tier 10. Tier 1 is going to be fine for me for this particular tool. I think 100 hours per month is going to be plenty. I don't record 100 hours worth of content per month. So let's go ahead and check out here. I want to point out again, I'm saving 10% because I am an AppSumo Plus member. Do this on the daily. So for me, it really makes sense. If you're spending right around $85 or so per month on average at AppSumo, then Plus is an absolute no-brainer for you because you will definitely earn your money back. Plus you get all of their freebies and extra discounts along the way. So let's go ahead and check out here. All right, so I've just watched their little setup video and it's becoming very clear to me that this is just a connection to their API. So I think there is a backend where you can kind of test stuff out. But it looks like this deal is going to be geared more towards developers that want to add transcription into their tool. I'm still going to see if I can find a way to use it as an everyday person, not someone who's creating software, but just keep in mind that this is an API-based tool. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get set up. So I've got my account set up, and the first thing I need to do is create a new organization. So let's go ahead and proceed. I'm going to give it my company's name here, Client Amp, enter in our AppSumo code. Kind of retro here, having to enter in the code manually. A lot of tools these days are doing it kind of automatically for you, but I'll go ahead and paste mine in. All right, so my account is now created and I want to choose the first option here, which says Inference Endpoints. And then obviously we get access to their Transcription API, which is this one down here. So I'll choose that. All right, and so I do have a little GUI here that I can actually utilize. Now it says it starts at 10 cents an hour, but we should get 100 hours at no cost. If you need to stack codes, they mentioned that you can only enter one in the setup. So you would actually go over to billing and usage and add in additional codes over here. You can see there's an option for AppSumo codes. This looks like it's a type form, so you'll probably have to be patient as they manually update your account. Very interesting that the API tool is all done manually. I have to point that out. Not that it's bad, but it is interesting that you might buy just like a random tool on AppSumo that has nothing to do with API connections, and it works seamlessly with their validation. And then this one doesn't have that ability to even redeem the codes automatically. All right, so there is a team option here. I didn't see on AppSumo if team members were included. So just a few additional things here about the deal that I noticed while trying to research the team members, which I have not actually come to a conclusion on that, but I'll test it out in a moment. It says that you get access to all small business plan updates. But when I look at their site, which by the way is salad.com, pretty great domain name. So that kind of makes me positive about the company. If they have a domain name like that, they probably got some cash behind them. But if you look at this, I don't see anything about a small business plan on the site at all. There's pricing here, but it looks more like, just kind of like GPU based pricing, not necessarily a particular plan. It's more like pay for use. Even if I go directly to the Salad transcription part of their site, because it looks like they have a lot of different products, but even right here, I don't see anything about a small business plan. So the obvious way to test this is just to try to add a new team member, although I definitely would like to know with some certainty exactly what I'm getting when it comes to team members. So if anyone from the Salad team is watching this video or from AppSumo, drop me a comment down below and just clarify exactly what the terms are. All right, so I just tested things out and I can confirm that yes, you can add additional team members, at least one. That's what I did. Beyond that, I definitely would look for some sort of verification or some clearer terms on the AppSumo page. But for now, let's go ahead and test this thing out. I'm gonna go into the transcriptions once again, and I can just enter in a URL here of the audio. So I think I could grab really anything. It could probably be a video as well. That's what I'll start with. So I'm just inside of our team's Nextcloud here, and I'm gonna go ahead and share this link publicly. This is actually the final version of my Meet video, which was published a few days ago. So let's get the share link. I'll copy this, head over to Salad. I'll paste this in, choose Run Model. It says pending. I'm kind of loosely keeping an eye on the time here so I can compare how long it would take to do it in the cloud versus on my local machine. And while I am waiting for this to actually complete, it does mention the formats that are supported here: AIF, FLAC, M4A, MP3, WAV, and then for video, we got MKV, MOV, WebM, WMA, and MP4. So lots of options here. It says they recommend using a file service like S3 that offers secure pre-signed URLs. You can't use YouTube videos, Google Drive, or other file sharing services. So it'll be interesting to find out if this actually works. And it says file cannot be downloaded or duration is missing. Please check your file and try again. So I'm not going to be dismayed by this little setback here. Instead, I've loaded up a Backblaze B2 and I'm going to I've created a bucket already. I'm going to try to upload my folder here, but you can see already how this is going to definitely present some technical hurdles for people who are less technically inclined. So average Joe, already looking like Salad API might not be for you. All right, so I'm just going to drag my file here into Backblaze, and the web GUI doesn't support uploads of over 500 megabytes. Very common. You can't upload huge files through the web very reliably, so I don't necessarily think that's a bad idea. All right, so not to give up, we can upload in the browser. I'm gonna go ahead and I've connected to the bucket inside of Transmit, like a FTP client, and I'm gonna go ahead and just upload a file right here, about 10 gigabytes, and just drag it right over into the Backblaze bucket here. And I can see the progress. It is currently uploading, so we'll just wait for this to complete. It looks like it's going to maybe be a minute. I don't know that Backblaze has necessarily the absolute fastest speeds, but we'll see how things progress. So already this is a lot of work. It's definitely not going to be something that I'm adding to my personal workflow because I don't have an app. This is for people with apps or tools that need transcription. I still want to see how fast everything goes, and I'm going to compare it to MacWhisper. transcribing the same tool. So perhaps while this is uploading, you can see it's going to take probably another 3 or 4 minutes. I'll try to transcribe this in MacWhisper. So if you've never seen MacWhisper before, this will be a good introduction to you. I'm going to go over to Manage Models and make sure I'm using their same V3 model so that we kind of get a apples to apples comparison here. I'll close this out. Now I can see up here it says large V3. I suppose I could have just used the selector there to choose between the models I have downloaded. And I'm just going to drag and drop my file in, and no further action is necessary. It's going to begin transcribing the file. Now there's a little exclamation mark next to the V3 there, and it says you might see a lot of repetitions using transcripts with the new large V3 model. If this happens, please use the regular large model, which should be V2, of course. So this is about a 32-minute video, which you can see down here. I can actually watch the video inside of MacWhisper, so it's kind of nice. If there's a little playback window right here if you wanted to check it and go through and see how everything matches up. That's really nice. And then as soon as it's done downloading here, it'll tell me, I think just very briefly, it'll show you the total time it took to transcribe it. So I'm gonna keep my eyes kind of locked up here, make sure I don't miss that, and then we can compare to what's going on with Salad. So the time on MacWhisper does fluctuate a little bit. Like you can see that it's been increasing. When I first showed it to you, I think it was in like the 4 to 5 minute range, but it kind of varies depending on how much processing power is available at the moment. So it keeps kind of going up in terms of how much time is left. And there it dropped down by a minute. I've said this before, but computers are just terrible at estimating progress. So generally, I think, you can kind of expect 3 to 4x. I'm using a M1 Max. I think you can expect like 3 to 4x the length of the video for the transcription. And obviously, if you have a faster computer, it's going to go faster. I don't think it's going to be like exponentially faster. There's got to be some kind of limit to the neural processing because it's not just CPU horsepower. Making some good progress over here on MyMeet. This is almost uploaded. Again, we still have to transcribe it after this, and hopefully the B2 file sharing, it's S2 compatible, so I think it should work with Salad, but we'll find out. If that doesn't work, I'll move over to Wasabi, and then finally I'll try AWS if I have to. Okay, so everything's still processing, but we're kind of doing this together, right? So I noticed at the bottom of their docs, it says something about like if you get the warning that the file cannot be downloaded or the duration is missing, the file duration is more than 2.5 hours. But at the beginning here, it says file size is more than 3 gigabytes. Well, my file is definitely more than 3 gigabytes. So perhaps, just maybe, that's the reason I ran into this first error here. And maybe I will run into the same error again because the file size is too big. Doesn't say anything about that up here. It just says up to 2 hours long, 98 languages, everything you want, right? So I'm going to, currently I have the file open inside of Compressor here, and I'm gonna just convert it over to MP3. This will at least get the file size down so it's within that 3 gigabyte size. It'll be very small, and creating an MP3 from a video file really, really quick inside of Compressor. So that is no problem at all. So I'm going to try to share this on Nextcloud, but I'm also going to put it on Backblaze because now I have both of the files here. All right, so here is the MP3 file uploaded to Nextcloud, and I've shared it, got the publicly accessible URL, and I'm gonna go back over to Salad. I've already pasted it in here, and let's go ahead and run this, and just fingers crossed this works. Then we don't have to deal anymore with B2. I'll still finish off the task, just ensure that it works in case B2 is going to be part of your workflow. Now it's moved over to running, so that's a good sign. And while I'm waiting for that to finish, I just want to point out that MacWhisper has completed the transcription. It took 6 minutes and 23 seconds. So end to end here, no worrying about transcoding files, uploading things. Definitely, if you just need a one-off transcription, doing it locally on your machine is going to be leagues easier than what we're going through here. But again, that's not the intended use of the tool. While we're waiting for the other one to process, I'll just show you around MacWhisper a little bit. So if you want to go ahead and just copy this because you're going to put it into something like Claude or ChatGPT, you can copy it right here and just paste away. You can also export up here. We can go into a text file. This is often what I will do, but if I need transcripts, I might go to subtitles here and I can choose either SRT or VTT files. You can even add things like speaker names and allow for multiple lines, max characters per line for your subtitles, and get everything looking nice on the screen. Another kind of cool hidden feature of MacWhisper, I mean, it's not really hidden, but they don't make it very obvious. You can drag in a slew of files at once. So let's say like 100 files from your next online course, drop them into MacWhisper and just let it run overnight, transcribe everything for you. I've actually done that with all of the videos I've ever made on YouTube, dropped them into MacWhisper, let it work all night long, came back, and they were completed. So yeah, pretty impressive tool. Really, really amazing to have running locally on your machine. Doesn't cost any money after you make the first purchase. So yeah, is unlimited hours in this case. Salad's still running, so I think that's a pretty good sign. We didn't get an error right away, so I may not have had to go through all that trouble of using B2, but like I said, I will test that out as soon as we get some results back here. One other cool thing about MacWhisper is that you can actually connect up OpenAI or Claude directly to it via an API key and chat with your transcriptions. There's also options to translate it into other languages. Just want to point out here that there's nothing like that, obviously, inside of Salad, and it will automatically detect the language that you're using. So if you heard before that I mentioned 98 languages and you're like, oh, cool, I could repurpose my content into different languages. No, it's just going to detect the speaking language. It's not going to actually do any sort of translation for you. Whereas with MacWhisper, if you connect up some settings properly, so if we go into the settings here, there is a translation tab over here where you need to get an API key from DeepL, and you can actually use the pro version if you want. But as soon as you do that, then you can use this feature right here to actually translate into a different language. So let's say I wanted to translate this video into Japanese. I could click that button and then the translation just starts happening right away. So pretty amazing. Well, this is a little concerning. The little scrolling wheel here has just frozen on running. So I don't know if it's actually continuing to work, and everything else on the page is not clickable. So yeah, I might have to try this again with just a shorter file and just make sure we can get something out of it. Now, obviously, because this is a try it out section, there's not really like a history of the tests that you've done. So you definitely, whenever we do get results, we'd have to grab them right away. There's no way to really save them out, I don't believe. Before I test this again, in fact, I'll just find a quick file here to test it. And then I want to look at things like support and documentation, because obviously that's really important when it comes to maybe a backbone of your business, of your app, if you're using this as an API connector. So I'm just recording a quick note here on my iPhone. I'm going to use AirDrop to send it over to my computer, and then I'll upload that to Nextcloud so that Salad can try to transcribe it. In a few months, I think this is all going to be done instantaneously on my device. But for now, this is what I am doing. All right, so here is the note from my phone, pending. Very short message, so it should go very quickly. I think the file itself is right around 179 kilobytes. So not talking about a large message here. This would happen instantaneously on Whisper. Again, I don't even know, maybe the URL is causing trouble here. All right, let's move from pending into running. And it came back with the result here. So let's see what it says. Now there is a little download button here, so we're going to definitely do that. But notice that every single word has the time stamped on it. So the output is extremely detailed. And then this one right here has a lot of words. But other than that, every single word has its own timestamp. So I'm going to download this. And here's the output, the text file just downloaded. So if you're a developer, this is what you could expect to see back from the API connection. You obviously have to parse this so that it's usable to your users. So I'm just going to attempt to have Claude do it because at this point, why not? All right, so here's the output. It looks like Salad was able to transcribe it perfectly. No real issues there. The only issue for me is obviously, building an application to connect to it. But other than that, it looks like it's going to give you a very high quality, reliable results. Now, just for posterity, I did mention I was going to show you how to do this with B2. So in case on the rare chance someone's out there being like, yeah, could I actually do this with B2? Well, I've got my test audio uploaded here. I can click on it, then B2 is going to give me a bunch of different URLs. The one you're probably going to want to use is this one right here, the S3 URL. That's most similar to what they suggested inside of their docs. So I'm just going to grab that, just right click it, copy the link, and then over in Salad, you can paste that in, run the model, or obviously you could use B2 inside of your application if you're having people upload files that way. The reason to use B2 or Wasabi over S3 is the fact that it's just so much cheaper. All right, so I'm gonna let this run and we're just gonna take a look at the documentation and support options so that we know what we're getting into here. I'm gonna open up documentation. It looks like the product is very well documented. There is a lot of different resources here in terms of how to actually utilize all of their products. So here's the endpoints that we're just looking at. We've got some nice screenshots. It looks like it's done very professionally. Yeah, impressive, because a lot of times when you see these tools on AppSumo, they don't have any documentation at all, or maybe just a few poorly recorded YouTube videos by the founder. So the documentation says that you want to send a post request to the API endpoint and set a GET request with that job ID at the end of the URL. So here's their example. You'd open Postman and create a new HTTP request, set the HTTP method to post, enter the endpoint URL, and then add your authorization key, add your request body, send the request, and then you'll get a GET request with that job at the end of the URL. And then you'll click the send button. The API will respond with the transcription result in JSON format. We did get the results back from Backblaze, so that's looking really good. Nothing really more to add to that, but let's just go ahead and look at their support options over here. Looks like it just pops open a little chat window so you can send in a message. It says they usually respond in a couple days. So if you need instant access 24/7 support, probably not going to happen here. But it's a one-time purchase and you get 100 hours of access for $79 every single month. So one of the weirder videos I've ever made when it comes to a lifetime deal, but we got through it. We see how the tool works, and I am definitely not the target use for this. However, I do think it's really cool that we're seeing tools like this on AppSumo, because generally it is more consumer or B2B focused. So it's nice that this is something for the developers, perhaps AppSumo trying to expand their range. I feel like I'm not really qualified to score this, so I'm not going to give this one a precise score here. I'm just going to say it worked. I got a result just using their little demo. To really stress test it, you'd want to see how it works under some sort of load, right? Whether you have multiple API requests coming at the same time. What is the actual processing time for longer files? Because obviously in the browser here, it just timed out on me. At least I think it did. Maybe it was going to come back. It wasn't as fast as MacWhisper, so I'm going to stick with that for my own personal needs. So if you need help with your online business or your website, definitely reach out to clientamp.com. It's not just me. I've got a whole team. We've got developers. They probably could understand this tool a lot better than I can. I'm just a marketer trying to explain the technical to, the normal people. I'm a normal person when it comes down to it. So if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you check out my links down below. That's the best way to support this channel. I'd be happy to answer any questions in the comments. My name, once again, Dave Swift. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next review.